Her mouth has been open for over 3,000 years. Since 1887, that frozen scream convinced the world this woman died in agony, buried alive, poisoned, or cursed. But when scientists put her through CT scans at half-millimeter precision, they found no fractures, no suffocation, no trace of violence. What actually sealed her expression in place is far more unsettling than any legend. The face of the so-called screaming woman has haunted imaginations for generations. Her mouth, stretched wide as if caught in a final silent cry, became a canvas for every fear and fascination about ancient Egypt. By the late 19th century, newspapers were quick to print wild claims. An 1887 headline called her "the mummy who died in terror," fueling rumors that she had been sealed alive in her tomb, her desperate gasp preserved forever. In travelogues from the 1920s, visitors described her as a victim of some forgotten royal justice, condemned for a crime, left to suffocate beneath the desert sands, her agony on display for eternity. Others whispered of poison, a deadly draught slipped by a jealous rival or a vengeful priestess, the toxin contorting her features at the very moment of death. Some writers conjured up darker possibilities still, that she had been singled out for a ritual punishment, her mouth forced open as part of a curse meant to silence her spirit or bar her from the afterlife. Each theory found its way into guidebooks, pulp magazines, and museum placards, with little more to go on than the raw shock of her expression. In the shadowy corridors of the Cairo Museum, her case became a magnet for speculation. Guides spun tales of forbidden love, court intrigue, and supernatural vengeance, all resting on the evidence of a single, gaping mouth. Even respected Egyptologists sometimes let the drama of her appearance shape their conclusions, suggesting she must have met a violent or shameful end. The image of the screaming mummy became a fixture in popular culture, repeated in novels, films, and tabloid stories well into the 20th century. Yet for all the headlines and hushed museum whispers, one fact remained. No one could say for certain what had twisted her face into that unforgettable mask. The real cause, hidden beneath linen and resin, waited for someone to look beyond legend and ask harder questions. When Egyptologists first examined the screaming woman, their tools were limited to careful eyes and steady hands. The linen wrappings, layered more than 30 times around her body, signaled a painstaking process. Each bandage was applied with precision, the fabric still holding faint traces of ancient resin. The wrapping style, tight, uniform, and reinforced with cartonnage panels, pointed to a date in the 18th dynasty, a period known for both its technical skill and elaborate funerary customs. Yet the body beneath the linen raised questions that early scholars struggled to answer. Her forearms, still covered in patches of soft tissue, showed a level of preservation that set her apart from many other mummies of her era. The skin, though shrunken, had not fully receded from the bone. The hands remained clenched, the nails faintly visible. Even the cartilage of her nose and ears had survived the centuries, a testament to the embalmer's meticulous work. Despite these clues, her true identity remained elusive. Nowhere on the wrappings or on the cartonnage did scholars find an inscription, a name, or a title. No amulet or funerary papyrus accompanied her in the case. She was a body without a story, her social rank and family ties lost to time. The absence of identification stood in contrast to the care evident in her burial, leaving early researchers to speculate about who she might have been: a noblewoman, a priestess, or perhaps someone caught in the cross-currents of palace intrigue. The textiles themselves became a focus of study. Under magnification, the linen threads revealed a fine weave, spun from high-quality flax. Stains on the inner layers suggested a mixture of resin and oils, typical of elite mummification, but not always found in those outside the royal household. The bandages were wound in a pattern consistent with the late New Kingdom, overlapping at the shoulders and ankles, with small pads placed to preserve the body's contours. This careful wrapping, combined with the state of the internal tissues, argued against a hasty or punitive burial. Still, the open mouth and rigid posture resisted easy explanation. Early scholars catalogued what they could see: no obvious trauma, no broken bones, no marks of restraint. But, without the means to look inside, they could only guess at what secrets the wrappings concealed. The next step would require tools and methods their generation could not yet imagine. Inside a climate-controlled lab, Dr. Maha El-Sayed and Professor Youssef Kamel prepared the screaming woman for a new kind of examination. High-resolution CT imaging, slicing through the body in increments as fine as 0.5 millimeter, revealed the skeleton in extraordinary detail. The jaw, though open, showed no evidence of dislocation or fracture. The teeth remained firmly in place, untouched by violence or hurried handling. Across the skull and cervical vertebrae, the scans registered no cracks, no signs of blunt force, and no compression that might suggest suffocation or restraint. The ribs were intact, with no hint of trauma. Even the small bones of the hands and feet, often damaged in ancient burials, appeared undisturbed. The heart had been removed, standard practice for elite mummification in the 18th dynasty, while the rest of the internal organs were carefully treated and packed. The scan's clarity left little room for speculation. There was no physical evidence of a violent end, yet the question lingered. If her body bore no wounds, why did her mouth remain wide open, locked in that haunting expression? Pathologists studying bodies with rigid, fixed jaws often turn to a phenomenon known as cadaveric spasm. Unlike the gradual stiffening of rigor mortis, cadaveric spasm acts in the final moments of life, locking muscles in place at the instant of death. In rare cases, the hands, face, or jaw freeze in whatever position they held at that critical second. Forensic records from the 19th century describe drowning victims found with grass clutched tightly in their fists, the grip so strong it could not be loosened even after rigor had faded. The same mechanism can leave a mouth open, the jaw muscles fixed by a sudden, irreversible contraction. Dr. El-Sayed notes that this effect is especially likely in deaths involving intense emotion or physical stress, but it can also occur without violence. The CT scans of the screaming woman show no fractures, no dislocation, and no evidence of external force. Her open mouth, once read as a cry of terror, fits the medical pattern of cadaveric spasm, a silent, natural imprint of her final moment, not a sign of suffering or disgrace. Inside the museum's chemistry unit, vials of resin scrapings and linen fibers from the screaming woman's wrappings are lined up for analysis. Gas chromatography mass spectrometry reveals a complex blend: coniferous resin from the Levant, Mediterranean bitumen, and imported beeswax. Each ingredient matches recipes reserved for the highest ranks of the New Kingdom, materials chosen not for haste but for prestige and preservation. The resin's spectrum mirrors those found in the tombs of royal women and high priests, with no trace of cheap substitutes or shortcuts common in lesser burials. These findings challenge every story of disgrace or punishment. The embalmer's meticulous work, from the careful layering of linens to the selection of elite resins, speaks to a burial marked by honor and respect. Far from evidence of a shameful end, the chemistry points to privilege. The so-called scream, once seen as proof of horror, stands instead amid the unmistakable signs of a dignified farewell, crafted by hands that followed the strictest traditions of their age. Science keeps rewriting the stories we project onto the dead. Today, imaging technology strips away centuries of speculation, reminding us that even the most unsettling faces may reveal more about our assumptions than ancient truths. In archaeology, evidence remains the only voice that endures. Share your thoughts below.